Hello, hello. Welcome to Me Too Recovery. I'm Scott Jones. We're just coming together tonight just to talk about God's grace and God's love and how so many of us feel like we're alone, but we want to share the fact that many of us are going through the same struggles at the same time. And so that was one of the thoughts behind the Me Too podcast, and just to give us a platform to let people know that they're not alone. And so I'm not alone tonight. I have a friend of mine here with us, Pastor Gresh Harbuck. How you doing, Gresh?
I'm good, Scott. How you doing?
Man, I am blessed. So glad you could join us tonight, man. I appreciate you coming
I'm honored
out.
to be here.
So, how long have you been coming with your church to serve at Brother Brian Mission?
Oh, wow. That goes back when I was at Clear Branch. I would go to Brother Brian's before Brian was actually the leader.
Oh,
of it.
wow. So that's probably 16 years ago.
Yes.
Because I've been there 14 and a half. Brian's been there about 15 and a half. So
Yes.
if you predate Brian, it's been a while.
Well, I would come probably like once or twice a month, and we'd do a teach-in or a testimony or something. And I was real involved with the ARC at that time.
Okay.
So I was there doing addiction teachings every Tuesday night. And then eventually went into preaching some there on Sunday.
Okay. So how long have you been preaching?
If you count Celebrate Recovery, I don't know if you count that or if that's teaching. So
Well, you've been leading people the whole time. So.
Yeah. So probably about 20 years.
20 years.
About
Wow.
20 years.
Okay.
And started teaching at CR about 20 years ago, and then I've been preaching for about 13.
Awesome. So how did all this come about? So when you were a child, were you very involved in church or? No. So your parents didn't take you to church?
No church whatsoever. It was, my mom and dad got a divorce when I was young, and my dad's side was all about football. He's a football coach. And so there was drinking all the time over at his house, and they were split up, and I really gravitated toward that. My mom was a beautician in Springville, had her own shop, and so she was gone all the time.
Well, you got your hair like you like it, so you got a little mama in you.
That's right. I had all the latest. I had the bars cut. I had they tested on me.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it was, no, I was not in church at all growing up. I did get, I don't know if you call it saved at 12 at a church camp in the summer, but then went back to living the same way I'd always lived.
Right.
So we would go to church probably once every 2 years.
Okay.
I mean, it was, we didn't go to church.
So I know it's Scott and you. So do you have any other brothers and sisters?
I had a brother, Chase.
Okay.
Me and Chase was always real close, and we was like a year and a half apart. I'm the youngest.
Okay.
He was like a year and a half older than me, and we looked alike, and we was always together and hanging out, and we was in addiction together. We was in all that, and but he passed away, about 6 years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
So when did the addiction start for you guys?
Oh, wow. I mean, I don't remember not being addicted. I mean, I've always overdone everything that I did. It was, I can remember smoking pot in the 7th grade, drinking at an early age. The drinking got carried away in high school.
Right.
And then the drugs came later.
Okay.
But I smoked pot, but I really didn't like it that much. But it was after high school when I really got into drugs.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of me. I got started drinking. My parents, we own convenience stores, so they would be open Saturday and closed on Sunday, and then they'd take Monday off. So I've literally been all over the Southeast with them riding around. We'd go, if we can go there within 24 hours and get back, we would make a road
So how
trip.
much beer did you rob from the convenience store?
A whole lot. And so at 8 years old, I got started because they would finish their beers and they would hand them to me in the back seat. Well, I started noticing, they're not empty.
Yeah.
And so I started, and I developed a taste for it at 8 years old.
Right.
And after a while, I got to thinking, if the last sip is so good, how good is the first sip when it's cold?
Well, it was good because my daddy let me, if I went and got him a beer, I could open it and have the first sip. And it never was a sip.
Right.
And so I
right.
grew a taste for it. So
Right.
the first sip was good as well.
Right. Well, I learned that eventually, and so when I opened their two beers, I would take a sip out of both of them, and then I would open a third beer, which
Yeah.
I would keep in the cooler that they didn't know about,
got
and
you.
it was mine.
Yeah.
And so that just progressed over the years as well. So it snowballs, and so you don't even realize what's happening.
That's right.
I didn't realize that I was an alcoholic at such a young age. I just knew I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And it helped me escape the violence of my home. You know, I could go hang out with my friends and, talking about how much did I steal. I remember I used to party with older people. So like when I was 13, I was hanging out with 16, 18 years old kids and stuff like that. And a kid walks in a party, everybody looks at him crazy until they realize he's got a case of beer in his hand.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, buddy, how you doing?
Yeah, that's right.
And then the next week, they're calling me or they're coming by the store going, hey, you coming to Gresh's tomorrow night?
Yeah.
If you come, can you bring some beer? And I'm like, yeah, sure, not a problem.
Okay.
And so I enjoyed being the party guy. And so that kind of launched me into a career of being addicted to something.
Right.
And so
Yeah, it broke me out of my shell. I
Yeah.
was always the class clown in school. Never was real good at school, but I was the class clown, and it was mainly because I was nervous
right.
and just didn't feel comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
And the more that I drank, the more that I did feel
Right.
comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was I didn't like talking to girls until I was drunk.
Yeah.
When I got drunk, I became Don Juan all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And
Right.
So you said
Or so we thought.
So I thought.
Yeah.
So you said it progressed after you got out of school.
Yeah, I went straight into work right out of high school and did not go to college, and went straight into work. And then some of my buddies came and asked me, hey, would you move into this house with us? And we had a house out in the woods, about 4 of us, and things progressed.
That sounds like trouble already.
Oh, it was trouble. It was trouble because we spent every dime we had on alcohol or drugs and anything that existed. We tried it and wound up going to jail.
Okay.
Never went to prison, but I went to county jail.
Okay.
Caught a case, and so
Same county jail that you guys serve now?
yeah.
Look
They
at God.
know me.
Look at God.
Yes,
That's awesome.
Yes, that's the same judge that was in that case. Actually came and spoke at our church one
Really?
time for Gideons. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that was a cool thing.
It's funny, the first time that I spoke at Breakout with you guys,
Right.
I'd just spoken at the church,
Yeah,
and I didn't realize that you guys recorded it and played it back at the jail.
yeah,
And so I walk into the jail, and I hear, hey, Scott Jones. And I don't know anybody in St. Clair County.
right. Yeah,
I'm from Shelby County. I don't know any of these guys. So
yeah. But she was famous.
in my head, I'm going, was that a good hay or a bad hay?
Right.
And I look up, and this young guy's running to me, and I'm like, oh, crap. And he stops, and he goes, Brother Scott, how you doing, man? I just saw your testimony. It was awesome. And he goes running around telling everybody, you need to listen to this guy speak.
Yeah.
And I was like, whew. Because
Yeah.
I thought it was fixing to go down. I'm like, I don't know this
Right.
kid, and he's running up to me,
Yes.
Can I hit him? Is that frowned upon?
That is frowned upon.
You know,
That is frowned upon.
So I'm glad I didn't.
Yes.
But he had seen CR that you guys
Right,
showed him,
yeah.
and that was awesome.
Yes.
So, what was your low point
Oh,
that kind of made Gresh go, I've
points.
got to change?
oh man, that was like a every Sunday thing. I wanted to change a long time before I did. I guess my lowest points was I was sitting in a trailer one night doing crystal meth for like the 3rd night in a row, and one of my friends was sitting there, and he looked at me and he said, Gresh, you don't belong here. Leave. And I was like, just made a joke out of it. And he said, no, you don't belong here. And I knew, I mean, it's almost like my mom speaking to me.
Right.
Saying, hey, what are you doing?
Right.
You know better than
Yeah.
this. And at the time, I was getting a divorce from my wife, living with my business partner, probably going to get thrown out because I was not a very good business partner at that time, framing houses.
Right.
And so at that point, it got really bad. And then I went on like this week binge. And my wife, I had 2 kids. I really love my kids. I love my wife, but you know, when you got kids, it's a different deal.
Right.
And she came to my business partner's house and said, "You'll never see your kids again if you don't get it together." And so we loaded up and went to Opp, Alabama, to my mom's house.
Okay.
And I thought I was going to get clean there, and realized about 3 days into it, this was going to be a little harder than I thought. So then I went to rehab.
Okay.
And
Where'd you go to rehab?
I'm having a brain lapse.
That's fine.
Bradford.
Bradford. Okay.
Yeah. Went to Most people, Bradford didn't do it for them. And so, but Bradford, for me, my wife had insurance, so I was able to go to Bradford. And so went to Bradford. I was there about 17 days, and then I did basically lock myself up in my house for a while, closed my business down, went to work with my oldest brother, and every dime I get, he'd give it straight to my wife. And so, and I went to at least one AA or NA meeting for the next year. And so I bought in fully to what they said about getting a sponsor, about going to a meeting, working the steps.
Right.
I was consumed with this.
Okay.
And so I went to hospitals and spoke. I went to Bradford and spoke. I went to Salvation Army, and I just wanted to be a part of recovery.
Right. So how did that lead you to CR? I know you started CR. You started going to the CR at Clear Branch, right?
Well, this lady that I knew, Debbie Barrett, was the associate pastor at Clear Branch,
Okay.
and she knew me from the community, and I knew her son real well. And so what happened was I was the recovery guy at Clear Branch, and they wanted to, you know, I was the before guy, and they was hoping I was going to be the after guy too. And so, but anyway, they knew I was in recovery. They was about to start a recovery program, and she asked me to help her.
Okay.
And I told her no. I said, I don't want to be a part. You church people don't know how to do this. And I thought I was going to open a recovery house. And so at that point, she came back, and I read the CR book and said, okay, I'm in. And so me and her was kind of joined at the hip. And then like a year and a half later, she handed it off to me.
Okay. So how long were you there before you started?
I was there
going
about a
to-
year before they started Celebrate Recovery.
Okay. How long was it till you started 180?
Oh, probably about 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was, I was the Celebrate Recovery leader for about 8 years, and seen God do extraordinary things. And I thought that that's what I was supposed to do.
Right.
And that was my passion. But at first it was like I would give my testimony, and we would go all over the place. And we had that was back when the basement and all that was going real big, and they was doing the human videos and stuff.
Right.
And so we had a human video team called Holy Fire, and it was from the Love Lady Center. And so they were staying together, and so they could spit out human videos like every week.
Right.
And so I do like half a teaching, we do a video and bouncing a lot off that. So
Right.
we took that to several Celebrate Recoveries.
Okay.
And God was moving. God was moving in a powerful way. Yeah. And then I do addiction teachings at Salvation Army, and went to Brother Brian some. And but it started out where I would give my testimony, and it was 90% recovery and 10% God.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the years progressed, it was more preaching than it was recovery.
Right.
And when I gave my testimony, it was weaved through a Bible story.
Right.
It wasn't no longer about just telling my story. It was about unfolding the scriptures. And
Right.
so
You're telling God's story that
yeah,
worked through
and
Gresh.
so I felt like I was being called into ministry at that point, but didn't know what that meant.
Right.
And
That's kind
so
of
it progressed.
kind of the
past
point that I got to, is that people were telling me, you have a calling on your life, and I'm like, no, I don't. I don't want a calling on my life.
that. Yeah.
And because I was raised Southern Baptist, and so nothing against Southern Baptist, but
Right.
that just wasn't me. That's
Yeah.
one of the reasons I stopped going to church, and so when I felt like God was calling me, and I had a real good pastor friend of mine said, your job is at Brother Brian Mission, and I was like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm telling you, it's at Brother Brian, and we kept going back and forth for several weeks,
Yeah.
and finally he said, God told me that your job's at Brother Brian. I said, come on, dude. Did God really tell you that, or are you just trying to get me to take this
Yeah.
job? And so he invites me to lunch one day,
Yeah.
and like I said, we're friends, so I know all of his friends, and we're in this restaurant where you walk in the door and you go through the line and get your food, and then you sit down. Well, we walked in and sit down, and I'm like, what are we doing? He said, well, we're waiting on a friend of mine. I said, who? He said, you don't know him. I said, I know all your friends. Who is it? He said, you don't know him. I said, oh, man. About that time, he goes, there he is now.
Was that Brian?
Brian King.
I thought that's what.
And Brian walks in, introduces himself, and I'm like, oh, man. I've been trying to avoid this, and here y'all hoodwink me into it, And Brian ends up offering me the position right there, And,
Oh, wow.
And so, but then,
Now today you realize what a big deal that is,
yes.
because he don't do that.
14 years later, yes. And I also realized what a big deal it is that I've been there for 14 years. We talked to other programs and people, and they're like, you've been there how long?
Yeah.
I've been there 14 years.
It's
Brian's
a heavy
been there
weight to
15.
bear.
It is. I always call it the most horribly wonderful thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Because the good is so good. The good is seeing families reunited, seeing guys get their life back on track, getting their babies back, their wives back, their mom and dad loves them again, which they never stopped loving
But
them.
you also see the tragedy.
But I've also, my first 10 years, I did 9 funerals.
Yeah.
And I've told the guys, I did 9 funerals of men that I truly cared about, and I got to marry one of my guys.
Yeah.
And that was the couple that I had
Officiate
on.
the wedding, right?
Officiate. Yeah, I didn't marry. Yes, thank you for correcting me, Brother Gresh. But yes.
Yeah.
And I said, we need to get my numbers up. I need more guys to get their life on track and get married.
There you go.
But yes, it's
Well,
been
I see
wonderful.
extraordinary things from guys that come out of y'all's program, and that's why we're involved in it. Is because I see success,
Right.
and to me, I want to be involved in anything that's changing lives.
Well, so, one of the mandates we have for the guys is they have to find a home church to plug into. That way, when they leave us, they have somebody else that cares about them and will be there for them. And the way 180 has embraced our guys, we've had so many guys that have transitioned from Brother Brian to you guys with no hiccups, no problem. Now, there's been a few bobbles here and there.
Hey,
That
there's
happens.
bobbles with anybody.
Right.
With anybody.
But as far as our
we
relationship,
we are honored that y'all look at us in that.
well,
category.
that is a cherished relationship we have with you
yeah.
guys. It really
We
is.
feel the same.
And when you guys come and serve, it's not like you're. Sometimes it's presented like we're doing you a favor, or we're here to help.
That's not the way.
The homeless guys, and none of our guys have ever felt that way when 180 comes.
They're supposed to be family. They're supposed to be family. That's our
and I've
third
had that.
service on that week, and that's what it's supposed to be.
Well, and I think your church is the only church where I've had guys leave the mission and come back and serve the guys with your church.
Yeah.
I think 180 is the only one that we've had that.
Well, that's
happen.
supposed to be the 12th step.
And we would hope that, but it
absolutely.
doesn't always work that
No,
way.
it don't. No, it don't.
So, About 180. So how long have you said you've been there, how long?
I've been the pastor there for 13 years.
Okay.
But it was going a year and a half before I was the pastor.
Okay.
So our senior pastor, Robin Scott from Clear Branch,
Mm-hmm.
this was his vision. He actually spoke at 180 Sunday yesterday.
Wow. Okay.
And so it was his vision. He had done the same thing in Gunnersville.
Okay.
And so at that point, Cam Price was the pastor, and she was for about a year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the Celebrate Recovery pastor, and so and thought that's what I was supposed to do.
Right.
But then as it progressed, then I took over about a year and a half.
God has a sense of humor.
He does. He does. Yeah. All right. What's the question?
So you're asking about someone that is trying to get clean. Yes, Brother Brian Mission, downtown Birmingham, all they have to do is call and let us know they're coming, come in and fill out an application. They can ask for me, or they can ask for Lee Harden. He's our intake person. And so they'll have to do a 2-part interview, and then we can get them started to see if we're a good fit for them and they're a good fit for us.
It's a great place.
But, I'm kind of partial. I think there's not, there's a lot of great places in Birmingham.
Well, that's where I send them is to you guys.
But I don't think anybody loves the guys like we do.
That's right.
You mentioned earlier that about family, and we very much see our guys as family.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things we tell them. That
Something that sold me on Brian was I went down there, it was several years ago, and we were sitting in his office, and we was talking about coming on a Sunday and doing something, and somebody came in from off the street and knocked on the door, and I guess you'd say his secretary or whoever said, "Hey, somebody's here and want something to eat." And he said, "Doing better than that. Let's get him a shower. Let's get him some clothes. Let's get him something to eat, and make sure that he's had a good night's sleep."
Right.
And I thought, how cool is that?
Well, and that's one of the things that I really fell in love with, that Brian really was very strong in. Treat the men with dignity.
Respect. Yeah.
Because a lot of the things they've done to themselves, they've stripped themselves of their dignity, and we're not going to further that.
Yeah. And if it were not for the grace of God, there go I.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah. Like I was talking about my good friend, the pastor, earlier. I was one friend away from being homeless. Yeah. Jim always says men don't become homeless because they run out of money. They become homeless because they run out of relationship.
Yeah.
And so that was one bridge that I didn't burn. And so he rented out his basement to me, and I got to stay in the basement.
Yeah.
Or else I didn't have anywhere else to go. Just no one else could take me, and nobody else wanted to deal with me because they've been dealing with me for so long.
Yeah.
Family's like, good luck over there.
It's so cool in recovery after about 6 months later, people actually want to see you drive up.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a cool feeling. Yeah.
Sean and Danny, thank you guys for tuning in, man.
Yes.
I believe Sean comes to 180.
Yes, he does. That's my fella right there. He's all over the place. He's worshiping God anywhere and everywhere.
Yes, sir.
God's going to do something through him.
Well, that's really
because he's one of those
the cool
that's
thing.
all in.
And I can say, from my experience, because at one time when I first got back into church, I was attending a lot of different churches, trying to find my place. And when I talked with Daniel was doing the same thing. He was going to 180, and he was going to cultivate.
Hey, Jesus is big. He's everywhere.
Absolutely.
He's not just in one church.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The word says that they're all ours.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I think you do need to have a home church.
Yeah.
So people can hold you accountable.
Exactly.
But I go to different churches. Yeah. I love worshiping God in all different types of environments.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's cool to see the different ways people worship.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. I tell the guys, when you know who you are in Christ, you can be in any setting.
Yeah.
I can go in a church where it's okay to raise your hands and raise my hands, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
I can go to church where nobody's raising their hands, and either not raise my hands or be the only one raising my hand and be
I
okay.
don't look for none of that. What I look for is me and my wife, when we go somewhere, did you feel the presence of God?
Right.
Did you? And I have felt the presence of God in settings where the music's loud and the lights are low.
Mm-hmm.
I've felt the presence of God in a traditional setting before. And,
Right.
Yeah, as long as the presence of God is there, that's all I
Right.
care about.
Well, and our guys always comment they do feel it at 180.
Yeah.
And as an official of Brother Brian, thank you so much for loving our guys. We really appreciate it.
We love you guys.
What's a good phone number for the ministry?
So you can call 205-322-0092, and that is the front desk at Brother Brian, and they can patch you through to either myself or Lee. And then you can, and then they can get you where you need to go.
Danny Gossett said, we run into the problem of the ones who want help but can't get the help from lack of places and information.
Right. So anytime, Danny, if you want to, you can always reach out to me. My email address here is metoorecovery@outlook.com. Shoot me an email with the information, and we'll get you hooked up and try to help your friend. And we want to see people come to know the Lord, and so we're going to do everything we can to help.
Praise God.
So, Gresh, I told you time would just fly by, man.
It did.
It did, man. Thank you so much for coming.
Man, it was an honor to.
Let me pray real quick. Father God, we thank you so much for 180 Church and all the churches that love our men. We thank you for the men that are fighting so hard to know you in a better way. And we pray that your presence is felt not only on this podcast, but in these churches and in these men. And we thank you so much for everything you do. Guys, we love you. Good night.
Amen.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.